She has 10 unread messages, each one from men begging for her time. She scrolls through compliments like junk mail, invitations for vacations, promises of dinners. But when your name appears, she pauses. She breathes. She replies. Why? Because you're different. You're not chasing. You're not competing. You're anchored, and that's what makes you dangerous. Not because of the words you say, but because of the work you've done inside. Modern men are broken, not weak, but trapped in a lie. The lie that effort equals value. That chasing equals winning. That if you give enough attention, buy enough flowers, say enough sweet things, she stay. But here's the truth. That turns you into an employee begging for a job in a company where she's the CEO, and you're just one of 50 applicants waiting to get ghosted. Men aren't hungry for love. They're starving for respect. You're watching this because deep down, you know you weren't born to chase her. You were born to choose yourself. If you're tired of feeling disposable, comment, "I choose control" below. Now. We're breaking this down into 8 brutal truths. Each one is a weapon. Each one is a shift in how you live. When you apply these, not only will she choose you, she'll never forget you. Number 1, competing for her is weakness. She will never choose the man who tries the hardest. She chooses the man who makes her feel like she wasn't chosen but allowed in. Read that again. The moment you adjust your tone, your schedule, your plans, your passions just to increase your odds with her, you've already disqualified yourself. You stepped off your throne and begged her to sit where only your purpose belongs. Men today have been sold a fantasy, a dangerous lie that women reward submission. That the more you show interest, the more loyalty, attention, and love you get. But what actually happens? You open the floodgates of her ego. You inflate her power, and she uses that power to watch you shrink. She tests you, not with intention but instinct. She starts slow, shorter texts, last-minute changes. Then she make you wait to see if you will. Then she provoke a reaction, baiting you to chase. And every time you take the bait, her attraction drops, not because you did something wrong, but because you made yourself predictable. Replaceable. Every time you argue your worth instead of living it, you lose your place as the one she can respect. A man's energy is currency, and when you spend it all trying to impress her, you end up bankrupt, not just emotionally, but spiritually. She doesn't want your extra effort. She wants your unshakable identity. When you center your life around proving your value to a woman, you put yourself in the weakest position possible, a man who lives on someone else's approval. Ask yourself this: if she stopped responding today, would your schedule fall apart? Would your gym session stop? Would your hunger for greatness fade? Because if your foundation crumbles in her absence, you were never solid to begin with. That's not love. That's obsession wrapped in insecurity. The man who refuses to compete is not cold. He's focused. He's not dismissive. He's directed. And in that energy, she senses something rare, a man who doesn't need her. And that, ironically, is exactly why she wants him. She won't say it out loud, but her actions reveal it. She stays glued to her phone when your texts slow down. She becomes curious when she doesn't understand your rhythm. She begins to feel something unusual, a loss of control. Because for once, she's in the presence of someone who doesn't orbit her universe. Someone who doesn't beg to be noticed. Competing is not strength. It's survival. It's the act of men who haven't built a world for themselves, so they cling to hers. And here's the brutal truth. The more you try to become her world, the more she will out of it. A man who truly holds power doesn't persuade. He lives, he evolves, he transforms. Not to win her, but to win himself. The real game begins when you stop playing it for her and start building a life that makes you magnetic without lifting a single finger to impress. When your presence commands respect without demand. When your vision is so clear, she has no choice but to respect it or walk away. And if she walks, she was never strong enough to be part of it. Every move you make to prove yourself is one more reason she has to walk away. She doesn't want to feel chased. She wants to feel chosen by a man who could walk at any moment, but still stands firm, not for her, but for who he is. And when that energy enters a room, it disrupts her pattern. It makes her question everything she thought about men. Not because you raised your voice or showed off your car, but because you showed restraint, power, purpose. That's the man she remembers. That's the man she fears losing. That's the man she wants, but doesn't know how to control. And if she can't control you, She never forget you. Number 2, detachment is irresistible. You want to know why she forgets the guys who text her every morning and never forgets the one who walked away in silence? It's not about playing hard to get. It's about not needing to be got. There's a level of peace within a man who no longer requires her validation to breathe. A man who wakes up not to check his phone, but to check his goals. That man is untouchable not because he hides emotion, but because he controls where he places it. Every time you check her story, ask why. Every time you want to double text, ask what you're hoping to feel. If her attention fills your emptiness, you're not interested in her, you're addicted to distraction. And she can smell that addiction. She knows when a man is desperate. She may not say it, but she feels it in the way you reply too fast, over-explain too much, cancel too easily. Detachment is not the absence of care. It's the presence of direction. When you move with purpose, you don't have to announce your absence, it's felt. Your emotional control isn't about pretending to be strong. It's about genuinely being so full of your own momentum that her responses, her moods, her reactions no longer shake you. That's when you become attractive. That's when your presence becomes heavy, not because you're cold, but because you're complete. When she feels that weight, she leans in not because you asked her to, but because her curiosity betrays her. She starts wondering, why isn't he reacting? Why didn't he chase? Why do I want his attention when he's not trying to give it? You become her mystery not by lying, not by pretending, but by being deeply invested in something bigger than her. Your vision. Most men give away their center for a chance at her approval. They abandon the gym, the grind, the focus, all for a maybe. And in doing so, they lose the very energy that made them noticeable. Detachment is when you stop begging the world to like you and start liking yourself enough to walk away from anything that makes you beg. She may not say it, but she craves that kind of strength, the strength of a man who listens but doesn't lose himself in her words, who sees her beauty but isn't blinded by it, who feels deeply but doesn't fall apart. She's used to men folding. She's used to men asking what she wants. She's never met a man who already knows what he's after and won't adjust it for her moods. That man creates gravity. That man becomes rare. And the rare man is the one she can't replace, not because he gave her butterflies, but because he gave her depth. Detachment isn't cruelty. It's self-respect in its purest form. It's knowing you're enough with or without her. It's feeling desire and still choosing discipline. That's power. And that's why she'd chase you in silence while pretending she doesn't care. Because deep down she knows every man gave her the world, but only one man made her want to be in his. If you're tired of guessing how to become that man, if you're done with confusion, overthinking, and feeling like you're always one step behind, then it's time you took back the pen and rewrote your story. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook is linked in the comments below, not just a guide, but a code. A living map built from ancient wisdom and brutal present-day truths. It doesn't expire, it doesn't fade. Once it's yours, it's always yours. This isn't a subscription, it's a weapon. One you can revisit anytime your energy slips, anytime the world makes you doubt yourself again. Read it, live it, and pass it to the version of you who refuses to settle. Because this isn't just a book, it's the beginning of your return to power. Number 3, mystery beats attention. There's a reason she forgets the guy who texts good morning every day, but loses sleep thinking about the one who barely said a word yet lingers in her mind for months. It's not about how much you say, it's about what she feels when you don't say anything. A man who gives constant attention becomes white noise, but a man who creates space, real, intentional space, is unforgettable. And it's not the absence that makes her obsessed, it's the depth behind that absence. She knows what it looks like when a man's time is up for sale. She knows what it feels like to be flooded with compliments that mean nothing. That's the environment she's used to, dozens of men trying to be the loudest, the funniest, the most agreeable. But the man who doesn't try to fill the silence becomes the one she can't predict. And that unknown is what makes him dangerous. That's the man she tells her friends about, the one she can't read, the one she can't label, the one who didn't try to be liked. He walked into her world and didn't adjust himself to match her energy. He held his own. And it wasn't arrogance, it was discipline. It was focus. It was depth. She tried to find a weakness, a crack, a moment of desperation, but it never came. She starts thinking more about you after the conversation ends than during it. Because your presence doesn't end when you stop talking, it lingers. Why? Because you didn't show all your cards. You didn't deliver your soul like a gift just to be accepted. You withheld just enough for her to earn access. That's the difference between a man who's liked and a man who's unforgettable. You want to stand out? Don't reveal everything. Don't update her like a status feed. Make your presence feel like a puzzle, one that invites curiosity, not confusion. There's a space between being emotionally available and being emotionally exposed, and too many men confuse the two. You don't have to share every thought. You don't need to over-explain your intentions. You don't need to be constantly reachable. You need to move with intention. You need to let your energy speak in the pauses, because it's in the pauses where her mind starts to ask questions, and questions lead to fascination when every other man is throwing attention at her. Like a discount store, the one man who walks with quiet certainty becomes the only one she remembers. She doesn't want the man who always answers. She wants the one who makes her wonder, not by manipulation but by discipline. A man who controls his expression is a man who controls his impact. Stop trying to be known. Start being remembered. Start showing up not to explain but to exist. Because the man who becomes a mystery to her doesn't need her interest, he creates it. And that's what makes him unforgettable. Number 4, build a life she can't disrupt. You want her attention? Build something she can't shake. You want her loyalty? Become someone she can't interrupt. There is nothing more attractive, nothing more powerful than a man whose life is already full, not with women, but with purpose, with clarity, with direction. When your days are packed with progress, your time becomes a privilege. She doesn't just get it, she has to earn it. And that shift alone changes the entire dynamic. Because the truth is, women test not because they're evil, but because they're wired to seek strength. The moment you pause your growth, your routine, your schedule for her, she knows she's stronger than you. You think it's romantic to cancel plans for her. You think it shows you care when you reschedule the gym to see her. You think skipping your meditation, your book, your mission just to text her for hours makes you emotionally available. But what it really does is send a silent message. You're my new purpose. And that is the beginning of your downfall. No woman wants to become the center of your world. She wants to enter a world already built with bricks made from discipline, from habits, from fire. When your life is so structured, so intentional, so vibrant, she feels lucky to be allowed in, not because you're trying to impress her, but because you're not trying at all. You're living fully. And that's what separates men who lead from boys who follow. If you're still building your identity around what she wants, what she feels, how she reacts, you're not a man, you're a puppet, a placeholder, a substitute for the one who actually built something real. Wake up earlier. Train your body until it's a weapon. Write down your goals and split them into micro-targets. Execute them like your survival depends on it, because it does. The man who waits for permission to build his empire dies in his blueprint. She might like your attention for a moment, but she will never stay in a life she can control. What she will stay for is a life she has to rise into, a life that continues with or without her, a life that doesn't pause when she gets emotional, a life that keeps its course no matter how she feels. And that's not cold, that's rare. That's a man who is so clear on where he's going that she doesn't just admire him, she trusts him. And when a woman trusts your direction, she lets go of her need to lead. She stops testing. She starts following, not because you forced her, but because you gave her something real to follow. Build the kind of rhythm that doesn't skip beats just because she wants to talk. Build the kind of life where your friends, your work, your solitude still come first, not to punish her, but to feed you. Because if you're not fed, if your energy isn't grounded in purpose, you become needy, and neediness destroys everything. Men who lead don't pause their life for a date. They fit the date into a life that's already burning. Be the man who's too busy chasing legacy to chase love. Because when she senses your time is rare, she values every second of it. Build that life, build that rhythm, build that edge. And when she tries to enter, don't stop the music. Let her move to your beat or watch her exit the stage. Either way, the music never stops. Number 5, talk to her mind, not her body. She's been told she's beautiful so many times the words feel like background noise. They don't move her anymore, they don't excite her, they don't even reach her. It's not because she's numb, it's because most men are lazy. Lazy with their words, lazy with their intention, lazy with their attention. They all default to what they can. See what's obvious, what takes no depth to observe. But she already knows she's attractive. She already knows what she looks like in a dress. She already knows what filters do to her selfies. What she doesn't know is who actually sees beyond it, who sees the weight she carries in her voice, who catches the way she pauses before answering, who notices the story behind the sarcasm in her laugh. That's where the real connection begins, not at her curves, but at her core. You want to stand out, then speak to where no man has dared to go, not her body, her mind, her identity, her contradictions. Tell her what her body can't say. When? You say, "You look amazing." She smile, maybe say thank you, but she won't feel you. But if you tell her, "There's something in your eyes that looks like you've had to be strong for people who never said thank you," now she pauses. Now she leans in because you're not complimenting her shell, you're speaking to her soul. Most men don't even try to understand a woman's world. They just try to please it. But when you ask better questions, you get access to places other men didn't even know existed. And it's not about manipulation, it's about curiosity. Genuine, grounded curiosity. You ask what she believes in, not just what she likes. You ask what makes her lose sleep, not just what movies she watches. Because now you're not chasing her attention. You're giving her something no man has offered before, a mirror to her own complexity. That's how you stop being entertainment and start being unforgettable. She'd talk to 10 guys who flirt with her lips, but only one who connects with her mind. That's the one she think about when she's alone. That's the one she crave when the crowd leaves. And that man doesn't rely on charm. He doesn't chase compliments. He listens, he observes. He drops lines that cut through her defenses without force. You don't need to be poetic, you need to be present. Pay attention to her rhythm. When she speaks, is she hiding something behind her confidence? When she laughs, is she covering something that still aches? Learn to feel without touching. Learn to hear without responding. Because the man who can read her emotional language without speaking becomes irreplaceable. You want her to feel safe. Don't flatter her, understand her. Don't react to her image, respond to her presence. And when you do, she won't just see you, she feels seen. And that is a feeling she doesn't forget. Number 6, scarcity creates obsession. When a man is everywhere, he becomes invisible. But the man who is hard to reach, hard to understand, hard to access, becomes legendary, not because he tries to be, but because his focus is sacred. He doesn't disappear to manipulate, he disappears because his time is a weapon, and he only uses it where it multiplies. That's what makes him rare. She notices when your responses aren't immediate. She notices when your presence isn't predictable. She senses the gravity of your energy when you walk away, not to punish her, but to protect your purpose. Every man is available. Every man is waiting to be noticed, but you're in motion. You're building. You're unavailable not because you're arrogant, but because you understand that time is currency, and yours is invested, not wasted. That's what turns you into an obsession. When you're not always online, when you don't chase every text, when you don't explain yourself to keep her interested, you stop feeding her ego and start feeding her curiosity. She doesn't need more men chasing her. She needs one man she can't predict. One man who doesn't revolve around her. One man who makes her question her own patterns. And when you vanish not as a tactic, but because you're devoted to something greater, her mind fills the gaps. She starts remembering the things you said. She rereads your words. She watches the way you left, not in bitterness, not in haste, but in peace. And it drives her wild because she's used to men begging to stay. She's not used to men who leave without explanation, not out of anger, but out of alignment. That's the man she can't forget. That's the man who leaves fingerprints on her thoughts, not just her body. It's not about being elusive. It's about being unavailable to nonsense, unavailable to energy that doesn't build. When you are scarce, not flaky, but focused, you become a mystery in a world addicted to exposure. She starts asking where you are, who has your attention, what you're building. And the answer is simple. You're building you. You're not waiting for her to validate you. You're becoming a man who no longer needs validation. And that's what she craves. A man who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't overstay. A man who appears with depth and disappears with dignity. When you live this way, not just act it, but live it, you become more than just a guy she used to talk to. You become a memory with weight, a lesson she never expected. a presence that haunts her long after you're gone. Because you weren't just different, you were rare. Number 7, emotionally grounded men win. There's power in a man who refuses to be moved. Strength so absolute that no reaction from the outside world can crack the calm inside him. When a woman meets this kind of presence, she doesn't just respect it, she gravitates toward it. Because she's used to men losing themselves the moment her tone shifts. She's used to men panicking when she pulls away, crumbling when she tests boundaries, arguing just to be right. But the man who holds his center while everything around him sways, who doesn't flinch, who doesn't rush to explain, apologize, or defend that man makes her nervous. Not in fear, but fascination. She doesn't know what to do with a man who cannot be provoked. She doesn't know how to handle someone who stays solid when she's testing for weakness. That's what makes her lean in closer and deeper. Because now, it's no longer about her control, it's about his gravity. An emotionally grounded man doesn't react to her drama. He sees through it. He doesn't raise his voice to prove strength. His silence alone can shift the room. He doesn't overtalk, overshare, or overprove. He speaks with intention and only when needed. And when he speaks, people listen because every word feels earned, not spilled. That man doesn't lose himself in conflict. He doesn't chase approval in conversation. He doesn't explain himself repeatedly to be understood. He knows who he is. He knows where he stands. That certainty is intoxicating to a woman who's used to bending the emotions of every man she meets. You see, women don't test you because they hate you. They test you because they want to trust you. And if you break under pressure, you fail that test. Not just in her eyes, but in her body, her instincts. Her deepest wiring, the emotionally grounded man is the opposite of emotional volatility. He doesn't panic when she pulls away. He doesn't overtext when she's distant. He doesn't rearrange his schedule to stop her from drifting. He allows space. He allows her to feel the void of his presence. And if she walks, he lets her not because he doesn't care, but because he cares more about his own peace than her validation. And that's what makes him dangerous. That's what makes him unforgettable, because emotional control isn't about denying what you feel. It's about mastering how you move with it. It's knowing your emotions are valid, but not always valuable. It's knowing when to express and when to remain still. And in that stillness, she finds a kind of safety she didn't even know she craved. Not the safety of a man who agrees with her, but the safety of a man who cannot be broken by her. That man becomes her anchor. That man becomes her craving. That man becomes the one she respects more than she understands. And that is the man who wins not by force, but by discipline. Number 8, be the experience no one else can offer. She doesn't stay for money. She doesn't stay for looks. She doesn't stay for nice texts or frequent calls. She stays for the experience. And most men have no idea how to create one, because most men are busy copying what they think works, repeating what they saw online, saying what they think she wants to hear. But you don't become unforgettable by mimicking others. You become unforgettable by embodying something she's never felt before, something that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, something that simply is. And that something is a man who turns his life into an energy field so intense, so intentional, so alive, that anyone who enters it feels changed. She walks away from dinner dates with other men and forgets the taste of the food and the sound of their voice. But she walks away from you still hearing your presence humming in her chest, still thinking about the way you looked at her and saw through the mask she didn't even know she was wearing, because most men only see the surface, and that's all they touch. But the man who sees her patterns, who challenges her beliefs, who invites her into an experience of herself she's never had, that man becomes her addiction. You want to know what separates a man she dates from a man she remembers? It's the one who created an emotion she couldn't replicate anywhere else. It's the one who didn't just flirt, he made her feel safe to be real. It's the one who didn't just ask questions, he made her question herself. It's the one who didn't seek connection, he created contrast. You were calm when she was wild. You were focused when she was scattered. You were slow when she was fast. You were solid when she was unsure. You didn't chase her laughter, you revealed her stillness. And in doing so, you became an experience, not a man. A man can be forgotten, but an experience leaves a trace of scent, a memory that lives in her like a ghost. One she welcomes. She won't always admit it, but she compares you not to her exes, but to everyone. She looks for that experience in other men. And when she can't find it, she starts to miss you without even realizing why. Because you weren't just different. You were truth. You were real. And reality is rare in a world full of noise. So stop trying to impress. Start building your world. Start becoming so rich in peace, so clear in intention, so powerful in identity that just being in your presence feels like reading a page from a book she's never seen but can't stop thinking about. And the moment you live that truth, not just talk it, she won't just choose you. She'll remember you forever. If you've made it to the end, you already know deep down that everything you've been taught about love, dating, and relationships has failed you. The chase, the compliments, the endless proving, none of it has worked out. And while you were bending over backwards to be chosen, she was losing respect for you with every step. This isn't just another guide. It's a total shift in how you show up as Amanda. It's every truth you were never told, distilled, sharpened, and ready to cut through years of confusion and wasted time. You won't find this knowledge and mainstream advice, but it's the only thing that works. Read it, live it, and watch your entire reality shift. Like this video and subscribe to make sure this truth reaches the men who are one relationship away from losing themselves. Help them before they waste another year trying to be enough for someone who never deserved them.